Off the top at 6 o'clock, we begin with that breaking news. Calls for change in Cuba resonating loudly here in South Florida. Thousands taking to the streets of Little Havana, setting off what could be the long-awaited turning point for the island nation. It's a reflection of what's going on in the country at this hour. Cubans on the island demanding freedom and international aid in the midst of a humanitarian crisis.
We have live team coverage for you. Hatzel Bell is actually standing by with reaction. But first, let's get over to Local 10's Terrell Fournay in the middle of all of this. Terrell.
People by the hundreds line the streets of Little Havana today, bearing Cuban flags and various messages of freedom.
It's been a long time coming. We just want to be free. We want food, we want supplies. That's what we need for our people to strive forward.
This is the movement that sparked it all. Images from people in Cuba marching on the streets by the thousands, a historic sight for an oppressed society. And local Cuban and exile organizations here are watching it play out closely.
We must listen to what the people of Cuba are saying. They want an end to this tyranny, which has caused unprecedented economic and humanitarian crisis in Cuba.
As word spread throughout South Florida of the uprising among the Cuban people, the streets around the Versailles restaurant became swarmed with folks who protested in solidarity. So much so that police had to shut down a portion of Southwest 8th Street over safety concerns and to give people the proper space to demonstrate. City of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez tweeted, "We stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Cuba who are demanding the very basics: food, water, vaccines, and freedom. The time is now." Protesters here want politicians to do more.
I want to see the president to see something and to do something for Cuba now, because this is the moment. If not, they're going to kill the people in Cuba, and it's just going to be for nothing.
COVID's going bad. We don't have vaccines. We don't have enough supplies in the hospitals. People are dying.
That's true, man. That's true.
And right now, we just want to get back to our people, man, because we come from that struggle. We come from that part of the country, you know what I'm saying?
And a live look now at what the situation looks like here in front of the Versailles restaurant. So many people feel that same sentiment. Again, they've been out here for the past few hours or so, at times chanting Libertad, which basically is the Spanish word for liberty or freedom. So many people here now breaking out into song, and in typical South Florida fashion, the skies opened up just a few minutes ago and poured down on the crowd, forcing some people to leave, but many more people, as you can say, have remained here. And they are happy and they are chanting. That is the very latest live from Little Havana. I'm Terrell Fournay, Local 10 News.
All right, thanks, Terrell. They're on the ground. The protest impacting traffic in the area, as Terrell said, there it is. Peace. Miami Police Chief Art Acevedo tweeting out not too long ago, "We are about to shut down Southwest 8th Street for east and westbound traffic between Southwest 32nd Avenue and Southwest 37th Avenue. This area will be secured by Miami PD in support of a long oppressed people."
And we want to bring in Local 10's Hatzel Bell because he's standing by here with information. So Hatzel, you have a really unique perspective on all of this. You've lived in Cuba. So from your perspective, explain all of this for us.
You know, it's something that if you've been watching Cuba, you know that there may have come a time when we were going to see this. And I say this for a couple of things. Everybody who watches Cuba knows what's happening there when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the COVID crisis. So you have the combination of all those things. In addition, you have Trump sanctions that are still impacting what's happening in Cuba. And what you're seeing there is the results of all those things converging at once. People really showing their frustration by taking to the streets, something we've never really seen in the 60 plus years of revolution down in Cuba.
But these kind of demonstrations, they've been sort of bubbling, right? They've been simmering. We've seen a couple of these in much smaller form over the last several weeks and months, right? But now this is a pretty large demonstration, and it's resounding and resonating, not just here in South Florida, but in other parts.
That's right. You know, you mentioned the smaller protest that we saw, one in November of last year, where it was at the Ministry of Culture, something that we had never seen before because it was very organic, led by the youth, led by intellectuals, led by artists. And now we're seeing this. You could probably argue that this is linked to that in a way that that provided some courage for Cubans to do what we're seeing now. But what we're seeing is completely different in the sense that now you have large masses and several cities across the island. This is something that's unprecedented.
Giving us a very close and in-depth, very bird's-eye view of what's really going on there.
Yeah, and I must mention that minutes ago we heard from the Cuban president talk about why he believes this is happening. Of course, much of the speech was surrounded about the U.S. intervention and how the U.S. is affecting or purposely doing all this. Here's what he said in Spanish, and then I'm going to translate exactly what he mentioned.
Okay.
Empezaron a recrudecer todo un grupo de medidas restrictivas de recrudecimiento del bloqueo, la persecución financiera, la persecución energética, con el objetivo de asfixiar la economía de nuestro país y que esa asfixia provocara ese anhelado deseo que tienen de que se provoque un estallido social en Cuba masivo.
So there he's talking about the Trump sanctions and obviously blaming the U.S. for everything that's happening in Cuba. No surprise there because the Cuban government has done this throughout history since Fidel Castro. They often look to the North saying that we are to blame for all their problems.
It's been an ebbing and flowing. We saw change during the Obama administration. We
Right.
saw those restrictions tightening during the Trump administration. Where do we go from here? Have we heard anything from the Biden administration?
That's big and that's key, right? We don't know what the Biden administration is going to do. They have barely talked about Cuba. And so what you're seeing here is the possibility that the Biden administration may not do anything for political reasons. We've got the midterm elections coming up. And I think possibly that's what they're doing, just kind of staying low key on Cuba. But guess what? What's happening now could prompt them to do something.
Well, I think that this is really going to make them, for those that weren't watching and maybe weren't totally in tune with
Right.
where we are right
Pay
now
more
in terms
attention,
of
so to
Cuba,
speak.
Yes.
this puts eyeballs on that. So
agree.
absolutely. Hatzel, thank you.
Much more to come on this. Stay with Local 10 for continuing coverage of this unprecedented Cuban resistance right here on air on Local 10 and at local10.com.